Eradicate mosquitoes. So hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rucast. Today we're going to talking about this book. It's called Madhushala and it's written by Harivansh Rai Bachchan. So these days I've been thinking a lot about people who drink, right? And it's an interesting concept because it's considered taboo in society. We look down upon on people who drink, but there's a kind of a fun attached to it if you take out the side effects. Because a drunk person would do anything to get his drink, he would do anything to get high or drunk. So this book basically does that. It tackles all the taboos about drinking and it is filled with poems about people who drink. And the writer uses these images to bring out an inspirational message because even if you dream of success or you dream about alcohol, the desire is the same, right? The only difference is the goal. The same lust is there for you to get rich and the same lust is for that alcohol. So the book starts with a quote from the Rig Veda, which is kind of funny because the Rig Veda is a spiritual scripture and you would not expect something about getting drunk written in a scripture. And basically the whole summary of that scripture is that may sweetness flow towards us from all directions. And here the writer does not compare your drunkenness or you getting high to something dirty. It refers to something as sweet, something that takes the pain away, something that makes you feel good about life. Okay, and for those who don't know, the name Madhushala means a place where you get alcohol, what you would refer to as theka. And here's the really interesting part about the writer. It is said that he never drank in his life, but he wrote an entire book about people who drink. And that's the main thing because I asked myself, would I ever drink in the future? And the answer I think is no, because the desire to drink would end, the happiness of me drinking would end the moment I start drinking. Because the dopamine is not in the reward, it's in the anticipation. There's this drunkenness that you get when you dream about something, when you imagine something for yourself, once you close your eyes at night and think about something that might happen. And all of us know that when it comes in reality, we don't really appreciate it. It's not what it seems like in our dreams. So, in a sense, I would say that the journey is sweeter than the destination because you tempting for alcohol, you tempting for money, you tempting for your dreams is much sweeter than a dream itself because once you get your dreams, once you get the alcohol, once you're finished drinking, you have no idea what to do. So, I won't be talking about the poems right now because I was going to the introduction and I'm so glad that I didn't skip it because that's where the goal is, right? So the introduction is in a format of a letter where the writer is writing to all the drunk people and he kind of explains what does intoxication mean to different people. He refers to us as Madak, which is an alcoholic. So the first kind of drunkenness that you would expect is from a devotee, from a religious person who only thinks about his God and he sees his God in everything, who has been ready to give up all his life, all the material pleasures for his God. And that's what people don't get, right? A person does not give up his pleasures. He gives up his pleasures for something much greater. A person who is truly spiritual is not giving up all the money and all the fame because he thinks they are bad. He does not think as pleasure as something wrong. He just doesn't want it to come from the outside. He wants it to come from his God. He wants to come it from within. That's why he leaves all these things. And now that he speaks of devotees, so he asks the question, what can a devotee really do for his God? What can he truly gift? Because think of it like this, right? When you say God, we kind of think about the creator of the universe. How can you gift something that the creator made to the creator himself? So it's like it's like your mom made a cake for you and you give that cake back to your mom as a gift. Doesn't make sense. So let's compare the happiness of a devotee and the happiness of an alcoholic. They're kind of the same. The only difference is the side effects. The alcoholic might have to remove his liver and this guy might live a long life. But the thing is, both of the happiness are kind of equal, but we look at this as evil and this as good. Why? And that kind of brings a question, is being happy, is being drunk, is being a bit careless, a bit ecstatic wrong? And if you're familiar with all these scriptures, one of the things that you might see is that most of the people say that the end goal is to go beyond the happiness and sadness. Like Krishna says in Mahabharata, we should see everything as equal. Your happiness, your sadness, your success, your failure should be seen as equal. And that kind of begs the question, why is it wrong to be happy and why is it wrong to be sad? I mean, of course, you would prefer the happiness. And I think the answer might be that it's about the attachment, right? Even about alcohol, it might make you happy, it might get you to that level, it might make you forget your problems, but in the end, it's just a chain. And personally, freedom is everything to me. And something that comes from outside and it will bind you for your happiness, I don't think that's freedom. And that's why I think the poet is not comparing alcohol to the literal term alcohol. It's more about the happiness or the state of being ecstatic that you can create from yourself. There's another concept of being a devotee, and it's about dissolution. Most people, when they pray to God, they just want to be in their feet. They just want to dissolve in their feet. They don't want to have anything of themselves because they have figured out that whatever you get attached to yourself will only be a bondage. It cannot lead you to freedom. You'll have to break everything, every desire, and the only way is to dissolve. You have to, I just disappear from yourself. And that's why they make God their everything. It might look stupid from the outside that every time they just think they're just thinking about the God, but the point is not about the God. The God is not important. What is important is that you find your freedom. Now, for some people, freedom might be drinking alcohol. Freedom might be doing what you like, but that's not freedom, right? That's still a bondage. You're bonded by your desire. You think doing things that you desire is freedom. It's not. Freedom for me is doing what is needed without having the bondage of hesitation. So in the introduction, the author compares a droplet to us, right? That the droplet wants to dissolve in a river, and the river wants to dissolve into the sea, and furthermore, into the ocean, and so on. And I think what he's pointing out here is that we want to expand as human beings. That's why we follow our hobbies, we tell stories, we can't stay alone, we need people. There's this need in man to be remembered, or at least leave his mark on this world. And he does not figure out that he cannot do it by himself. If he wants the universe, he needs to have all of it. If you are a droplet and you want the ocean, the only way is to dissolve in it. And here's what I think about this, right? Make yourself so big that you don't exist. There's also this quote from Kabir, and it says, Pivat Ramras Lagi Khumari. And it is of a devotee, right? Ramras would refer to the Lord Ram and or God in general. Lagi Khumari. And Khumari is an interesting word. It does not mean drunkenness. It means a middle state of consciousness and unconsciousness. Suppose it's that few moments before you go to sleep and you're dreaming a really good dream, like you're daydreaming and you are dreaming at the same time, and there's this thin line where you're really happy because you're not fully awake. You can enjoy the rest of the sleep, but you're not really asleep. You can enjoy being awake. And there's a sweet spot called Kumari. So moving on, the writer also says that how every person in this world wants to leave his mark through his work. He says that a musician wants to leave his mark by his music. He wants to make sure that his music reaches the clouds and everyone hears it. So here's what I've been thinking about, because when it comes to my YouTube channel, there's no me as such, right? Why would you look at a face for us? I am made up of my thoughts, my ideologies, my art, my poetry, all the things that I like doing and things I can express, things that I'm made up of. And that's what all of us are doing. You can't really leave your mark physically as such, but you can leave traits of yourself that are unique to you. Like people know, like suppose if I read sad poetry, I might think, oh, this is by Bukowski. Or maybe if I see a particular style of painting, I will be like, oh, maybe this is made by Picasso. And we can't really leave ourselves. We can only leave our work behind to be remembered. And here's the funny part, because most of the world is running behind to build yourself. You want to build your career. You want to build your skills. You want to make sure that you have a great personality. And here's what the book says. It says, forget all that. That is not important. What you have to do is dissolve yourself. See that in this vastness of this universe, you are just a small speck. That you are nothing compared to this great void. Remember when I said the goal of a devotee is to be happy? Here's what Harivansh Rai Bachchan says. Charam abhilasha atmanand nahi atma samarpan hai. For those who don't know Hindi, it basically means your final happiness or the stage of happiness which can't be taken from you is not happiness as such. It would be atma samarpan, which is self-sacrifice, or you give up yourself. What he means is surrender, not bliss, nothingness, not existence. So here's what I've observed, right? Most of the people use alcohol as a coping mechanism. And that's the sad part, because you can't run away from your pain. You just have to go through and above it. There's no other way. Once you go through your pain, you'll understand, man, this is not worth it. I really need something that makes me happy. And once you start finding happiness, you realize that nothing can make you happy forever. All your reasons will start to fade away. Then what? You'll have to find that happiness that no one can take away from you. So moving on, Harivansh Rai Bachchan says, आज मदिरा लाया हूँ, मदिरा जिसे पीकर भविष्य के भय भाग जाते हैं और भूतकाल के दुख दूर हो जाते हैं. Which is true. You might be using that happiness to console yourself, like maybe something went wrong in your past or you're afraid of the future. And for that you escape, you drink or you get into that zone of happiness and you think, oh, that's it. But that's not it, right? Face your fears, look at your past, see why it was bad, see why it is not your fault anymore, you can't change it. Sit with yourself, think about the future, accept the fact that it might go wrong, and then be happy. Remember that Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb? That's also what most people do with alcohol. It makes them comfortably numb, means they know there are problems in their life, but they are comfortable being numb. They don't want to let that pain get to them. And to be honest, don't do that. Okay, so now that we have talked about Madira for a devotee or Madira for an alcoholic, there's also an interesting part about Madira, and I think Kabir also refers it to that. It's truth. Most of the people have this thirst for truth. They might turn to philosophy to find the answer, or they might go into spirituality, meditation, religion, etc. But there's this eternal need of man to find meaning in what he does. So referring to that, Harivansh Rai Bachchan says, ले इसे पीकर अपने हृदय की अग्नि को शांत कर ले. जो हृदय कल मधु का प्यासा था, वही आज प्यास बुझाने वाला मधु हो गया है. And here's the interesting part. What if the desire to know the truth might lead you to truth? Not any search, not any of your theories, but just the sheer desire and the uncomfortability of not knowing the truth. Like you want that answer so bad that you can't live without it. What if that is enough? Because in the further part of the book, the author also has this couple of lines where he says, if you're really thirsty, just start walking, you'll find your way. Because a drunk person will anyways find his Madhushala. And the same goes with you. Suppose you're not sure about what you want to do in your future. You just start with something you love. You build on it. You don't know where it goes. You just start walking. And I think that's the most important part. You start in the first place. And there's also another couple of lines which says, once you are thirsty enough, your thirst itself will become the alcohol. And what if your thirst for truth will lead you to truth, will make you realize itself? And I think that kind of comes from pain, the pain of ignorance. Most of the people are comfortably numb in their life. They are okay with not knowing what lies further in their life, what's really the purpose of your life, and they're just happy, It's a simple, happy life. You have few kids, you have a good job, you get to eat your favorite food, but there's no pain. And unless you know that pain, you won't realize the sweetness of the alcohol. And now the author says, once you're thirsty enough, you'll start finding that happiness in every small thing. The whole world will turn into a Madhushala. You'll start looking for your alcohol in every single small thing. He says, मेरे प्यारे देख, प्रकृति मधुशाला बनकर झूम रही है. मैं अपने हाथों से प्याला भर भर कर तेरी अधरों से लगाऊं और तू अनंत काल तक अपनी पिपासा से इसे पीता चले जा. Just give existence a chance to give you bliss. Just start looking for happiness in small things. Give up yourself, give up your desires, give up your idea of happiness. Now that we've spoken about drunkenness Now that we've spoken about Madeira as truth, in the end, he goes on saying that it's not necessary for you to keep on drinking your whole life. It's not necessary for you to find happiness in every moment. He says, उन्मादक नैनों की एक चितवन मुझे अनंत काल तक उन्मत्त रखेगी. It basically means that one look of the eye of his God would keep him happy for eternity. It reminds me of something that Osho says. True love is momentary, but what a moment. So now that he has ended his letter, it's kind of funny because in the end he says, Tere Madir Naino ke Nirantar Dhyan mein main, which means in constant meditation of your eyes, me. And that's the funny part. I read Madir as Mandir, and because Madir means intoxicating and Mandir means temple. Coincidence? I think not. So with that, we are ending the introduction of the book. And if you want to see more episodes, do tell me in the comments. I'm trying to experiment with my content, see how it goes. So like, share, subscribe, I guess. See you in the next video. Bye bye.
जिस दिन तुम्हारे जीवन में आनंद की पुलक होगी, शून्य का संगीत होगा, यूं जैसे कि शून्य ने तुम्हारे भीतर शराब बहा दी, फिर मन तुम्हें नहीं भटका सकेगा. क्या खाक भटकाएगा? जिसने हीरों को पा लिया वो कोई कंकड़ पत्थर बीनेगा.